I just saw, back to back, the original 1974 crime drama The Taking of Pelham 123, written by Peter Stone and directed by Joseph Sargent, and the 2009 crime action thriller remake of the same movie, written by Brian Helgeland and directed by Tony Scott. Both versions were based on the novel of the same name by John Goody and are about a group of 4 criminals who hijack a subway car in New York City and hold the 20 or so passengers for ransom. $1 million in 1974 and $10 million in 2009. Inflation, I guess. Pitted against these dastardly foes who have no problem killing off the hostages to get what they want are New York City Transit Police Lieutenant Zachary Garber, played by Walter Matthau in the original, and subway dispatcher Walter Garber, perhaps an homage to the Matthau character, played by Denzel Washington in the remake. Both stories play out as something of a how are they going to get away with the money and escape from an underground tunnel that's completely surrounded by cops on all sides mystery. And that made for a fairly interesting story that got intense at times. The main difference between these two movies was, one, the shooting style. Sargent's original was exactly what you'd expect from a mid-70s crime story, stark and gritty, allowing the situations and characters to dictate the action. Tony Scott directed it like a Tony Scott movie, with slick, stylistic visuals that at times, for me anyway, interfered with the flow. And two, the bad guys, but especially their leaders. Robert Shaw's Mr. Blue was a cold, calculating tactician who played up the professionalism of his caper, leaving nothing to chance as everything was planned and executed to the last detail. Watching him work, you had no doubt he would get away with this crime, and the only way to foil him would take superhuman effort and intelligence by Walter Matthau and his compatriots, Jerry Stiller and Julius Harris, among others. On the other hand, Travolta's Dennis Ford is a screaming, ranting and raving wild card that doesn't seem to mind changing his plan or dealing with unforeseen circumstances in the slightest, as he handles one of his men taking a bullet between the eyes without even blinking, though the guy was somewhat integral to the plan, or deciding that the only person he was willing to speak with on the radio was Denzel, for seemingly no reason at all. In fact, going as far as willing to murder a hostage if he didn't get his way. Also, the remake added some storylines that were extraneous at best, like how Denzel Washington took a bribe and that's why he was demoted to the dispatch desk to begin with. The whole subplot and how it was used was fairly ridiculous, as was Travolta's backstory about how he was using the entire crime to drive down gold prices so he could buy low and make a fortune. I mean, what? Also, the telephone call between Denzel and his wife just before he has to carry the money to the kidnappers, thus endangering his life. Between the overly corny dialogue and incredibly sappy melody, I half expected Denzel's wife to put wrist to forehead and swoon before hanging up. And unlike that hokey music, the original score by David Shire was all blaring horns, winding keyboards, and bass lines over constantly differing drum tracks that added to the flavor of the film, instead of taking away from it, where some of the modern hip-hop stuff did in the 2009 version. Finally, the climax in 1974 was far superior, with what happens to leader Robert Shaw genuinely leaving me gape-mouthed, as I totally didn't see that coming. And the way Walter Matthau kinda stumbled into catching accomplice Martin Balson, highlighting a movie with witty and humorous charm throughout by ending on one of the best comedic expressions I've ever seen on film, while 2009's end left me wondering what the hell did I just watch? And that's why I rated the 2009 remake of The Taking of Pelham 123 at a 5.4. And if you know Sixth Row Center's grading scale, you'd know that a 5.0 to a 5.4 is so-so. Yep, couldn't even make it to 5.5 and decent. While the original came out at a 6.2, where 6.0 to 6.4 is considered good. So if you're interested in this story, I'd go with the original for sure. But don't take my word for it. Check them both out for yourself and let me know what you think in the comments. Now I gotta run because the next Remake City double feature is starting right this minute.